What's up, everybody? It's Radio Sara. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at radio_Sara, no H on that. You can also check out my creative content agency if you need some digital or marketing help. Breakdown.media is that. And most importantly, make sure you smash that subscribe button for John the Ninja. I taught him everything he knows, no matter what Pancake says. It was me.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo. Well, it's Dojo C. You guys know the bag. You know, A, B, C, D. And I got a rock star in front of me. One of the pioneers in not just metal and rock, but for women in the workforce. And if not for her, pretty sure the term would be, but if not for, that's legalese in law school. She helped me so much, if not for her efforts, that I would have not had such a great time at my internship at WMMR, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've done since. So first things first, she is another South Jersey local that when she was younger, she used to promote shows. If you guys don't know, grindcore and all the hardcore music scene down there, it's a lot of barns and churches that host those shows. But she made the decision, instead of becoming a marine biologist or going to be a writer, she went to Drexel and studied in their music industry program. And thanks to Jim McGaffin, or Gwyn, it's McGwyn. Sorry, Jim, I know you're upset when I do that. She ended up interning at WMMR and took her career to heights unseen at the time. She's not only a producer, a photographer, a digital DP, music director, but most importantly, even though she never thought she would be one, she is a radio DJ. The person I speak of is Sara Parker. And Miss Parker has built quite the resume. If you're not impressed by the things I've already mentioned, be impressed by the people she's helped and talked with. Chris Jericho, Fozzy, Celeste Giuliano actually having modeled for the world famous photographer. And we go back to meeting Kirk Hammett and Mike Shinoda, writing for Joan Jett. It's a lot of stuff that's encompassed. So I had to reach out to my former mentor, ask her for a time. She graciously said yes. So ladies and gentlemen, I give you Sara Parker. Mademoiselle, how are you?
Passed over. You covered it all. There's nothing else that needs to be said. No, thank you so much for that lovely intro. It's great to see you. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, and man, I've spoken wonders of the blessing you guys have been to me. Man, I never forgot your advice. I said, Sara, what do I do now? I'm leaving. I got to go on to bigger, better things. You were like, John, start a podcast. Podcast? Yep. And you were like, trust me. All these years later, you're right. Maybe I started the podcast. Thank you. And you're doing pretty well too. Tell me what's new and exciting for you right now.
Yeah, well, I'll say that I tell people, because I get younger people and even older people asking, how do I break into radio all the time? And it is such a tough industry. It's a tough industry to stay in and maintain a career, let alone break into. So, aside from trying to get an internship, which you did, and just sort of immersing yourself in the world, getting an entry-level job and just grinding and grinding and grinding, I always say in your free time, start a podcast because it's easier than ever. I mean, it looks like we're both in our homes, and here we are doing the thing. And that gives you, even though it's not live radio, it allows you to grow and develop a presence on the mic, and you can make the brand your own. And who knows, there's so many like micro influencers nowadays that you can gain a loyal and sizable following just by, like I said, doing the damn thing in your house. So I'm so glad that you took my advice. Yeah, it's working out for you.
There's always that moment in the job field where we're like, do we still want to do this? Do we still have to, or do I want to? And, you know, like you mentioned, radio is kind of like wrestling. You know, you take a lot of bumps and you got to keep it forever building your brand. It might not last forever. You know, I always think back to that story you told me about when you were on the buses trying to get into MMR. And I was wondering, do you think that was the toughest time for you in your career, was just getting to the dance and actually establishing yourself as an actual employee? Or was there another time working in radio, you're kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore?
Oh, that was just the beginning. So what you're referencing is I started my career at WMMR as an intern and later an associate producer for the Preston and Steve show. I was going to school at Drexel, so in Philadelphia, and I didn't have a car. So it being a morning show that I was working for, I had to be at the studio at 6 a.m. Didn't have a car. The bus schedule and any public transportation schedule doesn't really kick into regularity in most cities until like 6 or 7. So I had to take two different buses at like 5:15 in the morning just to get to the studio because it was in the burbs, like technically Philadelphia, but it's not Philadelphia. It had to go outside of the city to get there. And I remember So for those in Philadelphia, you know the Pico building, and it's got this neon scroll that has some like advertisements and promos at the top, and then between each one, it'll scroll the time and temp. And I remember to get to the bus stop, I had to walk towards this building, and it's freezing cold. It was like the dead of winter. And I see the time scroll across, it was 5:15, and then the temperature scroll across, it was 0 degrees. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But then when I got to the studio and you're in it, there's so much adrenaline that comes with live radio or any sort of live in the moment medium that gives you that boost. And I was exhausted by the time each morning was over, but that internship taught me so, so much. And yes, thank you to Jim McGuinn, who is Preston and Steve's former boss. He is now at WXPN here in Philadelphia, if you're familiar with any of the stations that are. Since then, gosh, I could write a whole book about the times that I was questioning my life choices. And some of them were because, radio and the music industry in general, it's a very emotional thing, right? You are investing passion. You are either writing music and promoting it, and you're putting your heart and soul into it. Or, like me, I'm not a musician, but my life's mission is to help others promote their art, which is why radio is so great because I get to play a whole bunch of different artists all the time on the air. So you really have to separate the emotion from the industry, which is so difficult. I mean, people's passions in any industry, I think, helps fuel what they do. It gives them new perspective, it gives them momentum in the tasks that they have to complete. But at the end of the day, radio is a business, it's commerce, right? So mixing art and commerce in any industry can really bring you down. And I've definitely had moments where I was like, that person just dismissed my idea. I should just quit entirely. I think we've all had those moments, no matter what the industry. But at the end of the day, I have been lucky enough to surround myself at WMMR with people who genuinely care about other people. We genuinely care about our audience because without our audience, we wouldn't have such a great product and playlist and programming that we put out into the world. And WMMR, for those who don't know, has been on the air as a rock station, no format change in Philadelphia coming up on, we're going to celebrate our 56th birthday later this month. So being even a small part of that heritage, I'm so honored and humbled. And in those difficult moments, I just remember that there are so many people who would just kill to be in the position that I'm in. And I also have to remind myself that I've worked damn hard to get to where I am. I've been at MMR for about, it's coming up on 15 years now. So to just walk away because I'm having a difficult day, not gonna do it. I'm gonna be here clawing and kicking and screaming until they drag me out, I think.
You are a writer, you are a photographer. You have piles upon piles of these beautiful concert pictures. I remember the first time I went to a show,
you.
MMR did. It was Riff Rabbi, rest in peace, my brother. But it was Slayer. That was the notorious, Pierre Robert bet where he was crowd surfing, and you were just. You even photobombed one of my pictures. We're gonna get to that.
Oh,
But
yes.
you have so much material. Are you gonna create a book? Kind of like, okay, here's my work as far as the concerts I've worked doing photography, or did you at least want to write a book like that because you have so much knowledge in radio to at least help the next generation of like, hey, yes, this art is dying to an extent, but these key principles will forever be, part of this business in the music industry.
I've never thought about it. I do love to write, and I think that's one of the reasons that radio in particular, one of many things that you can do within the music industry, it's storytelling, right? So that resonated with me because I love the written word, but it translates, right? It's not scripted, but you still have to consider what you're going to say, write certain things for digital content or the programming that goes in between the live bits. So I've never really thought about it. I kind of scratched that itch by being a content creator on Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff. I did recently launch my own marketing company with my pal Nick Murphy, who also used to work for the Preston and Steve show. So we help others tell their stories. It's Breakdown Media, breakdown.media. If you need some marketing assistance, we are happy to help. So I don't know. Like you said, I'm a lover of the written word. I'm a lover of books, and maybe one day I will. I would love to compile. Oh man, you talk about like backlogged content. all those concert shots. I've been lucky to shoot quite a few concerts in my day. And I just have frames upon frames upon frames. And I would love to like organize them and display them or maybe do like a little coffee table book. And there's also local galleries who will do showings of things like that. So who knows? Now the wheels are turning. Now you've got me going. I got to do something with all that material.
Well, shout out to the wizard, Nick Murphy, who's also been on the podcast. And Mademoiselle, congratulations for your PBA award for Rock Breakdown.
Thank you.
I know you kind of wanted to do something extra at the station, and that's how that came about. But when it comes to ideas at the radio station, or at least the industries I've been in, I don't know if I ever told you, I did do a little training in wrestling, did a little refereeing. But, you have to be very, very careful of throwing an idea out there and not getting your credit. It's one thing to be like, hey, I want the whole team to win, so yes, let's do it. But there's other times you have to protect the product itself. So when you guys ended up actually starting to do the videos, how did you present that to the brass? Did you guys say, we're just going to do this on our own? Or did you say, hey, we want to do this for the station?
Okay, so it came about because WMR's parent company kept pushing digital. They're becoming a digital company. We need more digital content. We need articles, we need blogs, we need videos. And I was like, okay, I already did a daily rock news feature with Jackson, who is now on a different station. But Nick, who being the video director, we got along really well. We have a good rapport in terms of like throwing ideas around, how editing should look, things like that. So I was like, why don't we take this daily rock news feature and do like a quick hits weekly or bi-weekly video series? And at first, oh, I cringe at what those outtakes must look like because it took me not a really long time, but it was tough to get comfortable on camera because on the radio, no one's looking at you unless you want them to, unless you want to set up a live stream or you want to do a YouTube series or something like that. So Nick was extremely patient and he's a great director. And more as people started to respond to the videos, when I finally began posting, I was like, oh, people enjoy the information that I'm giving them. And they also enjoy the irreverence. Cause look, I am just a goofy person. It's really hard for me to be serious. It definitely is not a hard news series. So we developed that and then we kind of just started it without asking. It has a background like this. As you can see behind me, all the vinyl. Back then, we shot it in front of MMR's vinyl library, which was much more expansive than this. And we would just get together every other week. We had to cram into what was then my office, like get all the cameras, equipment, everything in there, shut the door, and then set it up because once it was set up, you couldn't open the door. It was a whole process every single time. But again, Nick was so patient and it was so much fun to put together. And then we just started publishing it on WMR.com and on my social channels. I don't do it for WMR anymore. We're kind of in the process of reworking Rock Breakdown into something new, but I haven't quite decided what that is yet. So if you have an idea of something that you want to see from this guy, let me know. I was thinking more like on this day in rock history sort of pieces, because those have a longer shelf life. And this is like the content creator marketer and me thinking it out loud. But who knows? We'll see.
I can't say nothing. You're always the one giving me ideas. I'm the one that like, Sarah, you know what?
Once I have the coffee, man, it goes and goes and goes. I'm the Energizer Bunny.
Especially when you first got your DJ opportunity, and that's not what you wanted to do, but you kind of shook off the dust, you got over your stage fright, and now we jump years ahead to you DJing at the Adult Swim Fest.
I'm wearing the shirt.
and all these wonderful, great bands, and it just, you said you're not a musician because you can't play, but I consider DJs that actually play and perform music actually using an instrument. It might not be the hip-hop way of doing it, but that's still very integral. In you being close to Andrew WK, you guys, having so many wonderful moments. I was curious if you ever brought it up to him. It's like, hey, do you consider DJing at live shows actually performing and doing instrument work? Where's your take on that? And as far as like having the stage fright now, do you just let the adrenaline pump and get over it?
Oh, yeah. So two-pronged question. First of all, Yeah, the stage fright, like I said, just like it took me a while to get used to being on camera, it took me a while, going back even further, to get used to being on the mic by myself at all. I was just so self-conscious. But again, once I started taking that leap and putting myself out there and then getting feedback and realizing like, oh, it's not all bad. They're not going to run me out of town with pitchforks and torches and all of that. And uh, again, the beauty of live radio, you can mess up and it's forgiven because it's real, it's authentic, as opposed to like, not necessarily, not that like pre-recorded anything is bad. Like we're recording this right now. It's not running live, but there's still some authenticity to it. So I think as long as you're real with people, they will respond to that and allow you to make mistakes. And God knows I made a lot of mistakes those first many times on the mic. And again, my MMR audience out there, I love you so much for dealing with me. But then, and it keeps adding, right? So once I got over the stage fright of just being on the mic solo. First, it was being on the mic with Jackson or anyone else that I happened to be co-hosting with at the time, and then being on the mic by myself, and then being on camera, and then being on stage. I'm still not entirely comfortable, to be honest, being on stage. I don't know what it is. Like when I can see everyone and they can see me, it's so bizarre. Like this video right now could get millions of hits and that would not bother me. But if I stood up in front of a room of 300 people, I'd be like, jittery up until the moment that it happens. That said, I still do it. You mentioned the Adult Swim Festival. I did get the opportunity, I think it was about a year and a half ago now, to do a DJ set opening for Death Clock, Brendan Small's Metalocalypse project. And I originally, when I committed to it, I thought that I was going to have like my DJ booth off to the side. And they were like, no, no, you're going to be like on an empty stage, just you and a DJ table on an empty stage. And then I had my drag king partner come out and like rock out with like inflatable guitars. And it was, I mean, in the spirit of, if you have watched Death Clock or Metalocalypse or any of Brendan Small's projects, like me, it is very irreverent and very funny. So we just like made it super goofy. Now, the other question was, are DJs musicians? I feel like a creator. I don't feel like a musician, but I feel like a creator because you do have to sort of unpack those songs to then reblend them together, right? Were you at that show?
No, I was not.
Quick story about that show. I I was borrowing someone's gear for that. I had the controller, I hooked it up to my laptop so that I could see my full library. I made sure that all my files were like correct and downloaded and all the levels were good. Headphones, everything's great. We get to the venue for sound check, and despite everything having worked before, me being very thorough, I ran through it like 3 times making sure everything would be fine when I plugged it in. The one laptop I was using just wouldn't turn on. It was fully charged, plugged in, just wouldn't fucking turn on. Sorry, can I curse on here?
Yeah, you could say whatever.
Feel free to censor me if you need to. I'm sorry. So here it is, like, and we sound checked last because the band had to sound check first. So it is like an hour to doors. Laptop doesn't work. Look at said drag king partner, Hannibal. Shout out to Hannibal Liquor if you want to follow some like metal drag kings. And I was like, you need to run to your house 3 neighborhoods away and get the other laptop and bring it back. So they went, got it back. We're plugging it in. We did like a quick sound check after doors had opened, which was like a little cringy, but like had to do it. But the problem was the laptop now worked, the headphones didn't. So I was like, if you've ever done a DJ set or watched anyone like a club DJ, you kind of have to hear in the queue what's about to happen. I could not. So I was like, okay, now it's 20 minutes until I go on. What do I do? And I went backstage. Luckily I had an idea of what I wanted to play throughout the hour. So I literally sat backstage and like looked on Spotify at like where certain drops were, the lengths of the songs. Like I made sure I wrote everything, just scribbled it on a scrap piece of paper that I grabbed somewhere backstage. And then I had that when we went out on stage next to me. I still put the headphones on to act like I was doing something, but whew, I was flying by the seat of my pants. And I was like, if I fuck this up in front of a room full of violent metalheads. Like this is it. This is the end. But it worked out great. I killed 8.5 minutes by playing Master of Puppets by Metallica, so that was good. And everyone moshed to it, even though it wasn't live. I was just playing it off of my controller. So that was a moment of sweating bullets.
Yeah, very nerve-wracking, but like the consummate professional, yeah, rose to the occasion. No fear, no
Ooh.
intimidation. You
I
know,
had myself a strong drink after that set.
you've been able to go and do all these wonderful things. Like you said, it's come full circle. Your parents raised you on music, even though you like Hanson. We're not going to hold you down on that.
Listen, they're
Right.
great. They harmonize great.
You've been able to see all these bands and conversate with people. I think one of the biggest ones I saw was you spoke with Mike Shinoda, and Linkin Park were really big on you finding your own music, actually branching out. The beauty of radio is every now and again you get to do that for somebody else, and it's like seeing a kid open up presents for Christmas. What is a moment in time you remember being able to do that for somebody? Whether you were at the concert, you got backstage, or somebody won concert tickets. We get a lot of those, but something that it could have been like a very close friend you wanted to do a payback to, or just happen to make somebody's day. I don't know if you remember the Billy Corgan session where the lady won the guitar, something along those lines.
I know there have been those moments because I've been lucky enough to like host meet and greets and connect the dots. That's another reason I love radio. I'm a radio nerd, could you tell? Is being able to connect the audience to their favorite artists and their favorite music and arrange those moments where sometimes they can meet face to face, or I can like deliver a message or secure an autograph for somebody. I'm very #blessed to be in a position to be able to do that. I'm trying to think of like a good one. You would probably know better than me because I was like, Ninja's gonna do his research. He's gonna like pull out some shit that I don't even remember. And I'm gonna have to like also try to remember it in my old decrepit age.
We're like the
Metallica
same
was a
age.
good
What are you
one.
talking about?
I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes. The Pierre thing with Billy Corgan was really cool because in the studio, I was there that day, and Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins comes in, and we had a few people who won their way into the session so they could sit in the audience, be a part of it. At the end of the session, Smashing Pumpkins gave us a guitar to give away, and we raffled off a name we of the people that were in that small studio audience. And it was a woman, I forget her name now. She still calls us from time to time. But this woman was like, she had this emotional reaction. Pierre put her on the mic and said, why are you so overcome right now? And she said, my son had served in the military. He passed away. And one of our favorite bands together is the Smashing Pumpkins. So I'm going to take this to his grave site. I forget where he's buried, but somewhere prominent. And it was just such an emotional moment for her. So now she has that token that connects her to not only one of her favorite bands, but her son who has passed on. And she did take, it was Arlington. It's Arlington. And she took the guitar there and took a picture of it and sent it to us. Really beautiful moments like that. And that speaks to the power of music in general, right? Because so often people don't ever get to get a piece of memorabilia or meet their favorite band, but you still feel a connection to them, even if you never meet face to face. It's such a powerful thing.
Just so many times, so many moments where I was able to see that for people, those weird coincidences. But it's like Pierre says, theater of the mind. You have been able to create such a great brand for yourself. And when I think of where your legacy as far as work and content is going, it's going along with like the Lady B's, the Nancy Drews, these really prominent women, not just in radio, but women that have, made a name for themselves across the whole music industry. I just wanted to know what you feel like was the most hard fought win for you trying to go about the business. Was it getting that promotion? Was it actually getting a band to break? What's a very pivotal moment of, hey, you know what, I was able to achieve this, the hard work paid off, and this is kind of where I point people to, these are my accomplishments? Because there's so many.
You flatter me. Thank you very much. definitely had to step back and appreciate what the universe has given me and what I put into the universe when I got to sit down one-on-one with Kirk Hammett of Metallica last year. That was huge because Metallica is one of the biggest bands in the world. My boss at the station, Bill Weston, trusted me with this opportunity to go in and speak to one of the greatest guitarists of all time and not F it up. And on the other side of that coin, Metallica's management, when they approved it, I was like, wow. And I have a good relationship with the fellas at Q Prime and the ladies. So the fact that they trusted me with their band as well was really nice. And it was up at MetLife Stadium, which is not local to me in Philadelphia. It's up near New York. So, like, we went on a journey. Me and my husband, like, packed up all the equipment. We were gonna video it, and we went up. And the Metallica camp, like, they run a tight ship. Every detail is locked down, which is great. It's so thorough. Um, uh, uh, Another interesting thing about that interview is so many interviews that I've done are within like 24 to 48 hours notice, and you have to like scramble to prepare. And sometimes you get told that you're going to get one band member, as I'm sure you know, and then you get another band member and you're like, I didn't prepare for this. But Metallica, it was like, you're going to talk to Kirk Hammett at this time, at this spot. And they told me like over a week in advance. And I was like, holy crap, I have so much time to prepare. This is great. But it kind of made me more anxious because I had more time to prepare and think about it and think about it. Um, and when we sat down, there was this moment of like, I knew that Kirk had to get ready for his show. It was the first night of that leg of the tour, so I'm sure his mind was elsewhere. But within a couple of minutes, we had eased into it and ended up having a really great conversation. And then I got to go watch this amazing show, this huge production from Metallica. And that was special for me just because of the magnitude of it. And it was also special for me because um for 10 years on MMR, I was part of Jackson's show in the afternoon drive. About a year prior to this interview happening with Kirk Hammett, Jackson got let go from the station, which still baffles me to this day because it had nothing to do with performance. The ratings were amazing, but the company did what corporate companies do and made a decision that we had no control over. And when I was on Jackson's show, like, there were several, references and inside jokes involving Metallica. So and Jackson was one of my mentors throughout my early time at MMR. So to, like, be able to do this interview with Kirk Hammett on my own, I trusted myself, the station trusted me, Metallica's camp trusted me. I was very grateful to Jackson. I'm even getting emotional thinking about it now. Um It was really a full circle moment. And I'm just so grateful. I'm still great friends with him to this day, but it was one of those moments where I had to reflect and thank, like I said, the hard work that I've done, but also what the universe has given me and what the people around me have given me. It's really special.
Hope Kirk gave you a little clip saying "so true, Sarah."
I thought about it and I was like, "Ah, he's not going to get it. It's going to be weird."
Get it? Listen, James has one up on you, bro, and we can't have that. Let's just put that in perspective.
Hopefully there will be a next time and I can get that isolated clip.
But I really want to stress the importance of, you get back what you give. And you've always been so giving and understanding. I can't roll off all the stories that, you went out of your way to help me when I was confused trying to help Pancake, when I was just in the booth trying to figure things out, when you didn't sell me out, when, Wide Orbit crashed on me, and I'm kind of like, what happened? And you're like, Jesus, John. I'm like, wait, I was just here. So, I think it wasn't just with me. It was with everybody. You were always trying to help. I remember, I'm not going to mention it. We'll talk about it later, but somebody was having a very freak out moment and you just kind of calmed them down. So I think that along with your hard work, the goodness that you put out there to help others is kind of why you keep on getting propelled forward in the universe. I always end these questions with the most important one. what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Sometimes you get advice and nobody really took it serious. You know, they just said something randomly, or sometimes they sit you to the side and say, like, hey, let me tell you something. But, you know, it's always that one thing where you might be having a good day, bad day, but it just pops into your mind. Like, I remember so-and-so said that.
Best piece of advice that I've been given. That's tough because, like I said, I'm lucky to have had so many people support me throughout the years. Um, Best piece of advice. I'm trying to remember like a specific quote because there's definitely takeaways um overall, but it's like a confluence of events. The something that's resonating with me right now is kind of like just do it, or to be brash about it, just fucking do it. So there's been so many times where I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this, or I want to put this project out there, but it's like not complete yet. And whenever I say something like that in front of anybody, whether it's a friend or a work colleague, they're like, just do it. Just put it out there and see what people think. And, you know, bringing it full circle to when I had to get comfortable on the mic, on the camera, like I just had to do it. There was nothing that was going to prepare me for it other than just fucking doing it. You know what I mean? So if you have a project that is in your mind or on your laptop or wherever, and you're not sure if it's ready to go out into the world, it's ready to go out into the world. You can always adapt and change things after the fact, but it's now is the moment. Do not wait. Just do it.
Absolutely beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, Sara Parker. She is gonna be a multimedia mogul. Just put it out there. And she speaks Spanish too, so bilingual, guys.
Only a little. Un poco.
That's not true. That's not true. You had a whole long conversation with Ryan, and I remember it too. I was like, I know the words, I can't say them back. So
I don't even remember that. See, I knew you were gonna remember something that I didn't.
thank you so much, Sara. I really, really appreciate the time. It's great to talk to you again.
Thank you. Everyone smash that subscribe button.
And everyone else, as usual, be smart, be mindful, rock on. As always, Ninja out.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. All your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.